Hello, my name is Dr. Kevin Harris, and I bleed purple. I love Washington Union. I am a product of this beautiful, wonderful school district. Graduate of American Union and a graduate of Washington Union High School, class of 1985. In my time here, I was student body president, participated in 3 different sports, and now coming back since 1993 as an educator. This is my 30th year. Love the students, love the community, everything about being a Panther. One thing I can tell you, for me, that's always worked for me is believe in yourself. Don't try to be someone who you aren't, and sky's the limit.
My name is Marcus Gray II. I'm a police sergeant with the Fresno Police Department. I'm currently supervising the background investigations unit, our cadet program, and our field training program, as well as recruiting. So I'm here at Washington Union. I was a former Washington Union student and now here trying to spread a little hope and guidance to any Washington Union students that are looking for employment with the Fresno Police Department.
Hi, my name is Eric Mayu. I'm a local Fresnoan. Parents are from Liberia, raised here in the Valley, first generation. Went to Fresno State, graduated in business finance. Went on in my career to work in the world of finance, in the banking world. And then after the banking world, I ended up starting my own company called Mayu Capital Finance. And locally, what I do is take care of people on the residential side, anything from investors' properties to first home buyers and everything in between. And then I also work on the commercial side and do SBA financing and then stuff in the commercial world from time to time. But all together, love helping clients. And what I've learned in the business world, I want to also talk about in the classroom today about being able to try to give back to the community at the same time as you become a professional, and then ways to impact those around us. So thank you for having me today and appreciate the time.
All right, so we have our BSU Vice President.
Yes. So as the many contributions that you make to our community, can you take a couple minutes to elaborate on your guys' profession, starting with Mr. Sergeant Gray?
Thank you very much. So I'm a Fresno police officer. I've been that for about 15 years. So the professions in general is for public safety. As of late years, we've been trying to make a lot of changes, not just within the department, but within the community. Our goal as a department is to create a link to the community that we're actually supposed to be serving. And I say it as a service sense because policing is not an enforcement thing as much as it is a service. So everything that we do is for service. Even at times where it may appear that that service isn't there, the greater goal, the greater mission is for service. So my job right now is to find those men and women that want to come into the police department, that want to make that difference, that want to be someone that's here for service, and put them in a position where they can live out those dreams, and then hopefully do the same thing and continue that cycle to make not just the streets better for where everybody lives, but make that service better for the people who need it. So.
I can't follow up with that. No, I would say financial literacy is like one of the biggest things that I would say that is a big component of stuff that I do. On the flip side, one of the things I failed to mention is I have a nonprofit on the side called Cal Sports. So working with the youth in the community, so balancing the two, the business profession and the nonprofit profession. It gets interesting on certain days because in the morning time I could be speaking to school and working on business stuff on the other end. But I would say financial literacy is a big component because after you graduate from high school, you move on to college. After you move on from college, you have the big boy or big girl job, and what ends up happening is making big moves. So anything from purchasing a first-time home, or from purchasing a home or an investment property, or making different business moves and stuff like that. So it's kind of fun being able to walk alongside of different clients and stuff like that, because what ends up happening is somebody might already have a house, but they're looking to buy a fourplex, buy a triplex, or different kind of stuff in between. So there's a lot of quarterbacking and a lot of communication that I do in my job. and it comes down to being very articulate and being able to get the job done. So anything working with attorneys, from CPAs to real estate agents to everything in between. So knowing my job and being able to deliver and being on time, and also just being available is a big thing that I do. So, but financial literacy is a big component because of the fact that, yeah, you got to be able to save. You got to be able to have strategies. You got to be able to budget. You got to be able to meet goals and stuff like that. So along those lines, I always try to make sure to help clientele out and everything in between. So, but yeah, it's a great fun task to have.
I'd first like to thank Mr. Randle for hosting something like this, because I was a student here at Washington Union and we didn't have speakers that looked like us, formed the panel or whatever. So please give it up to Mr. Randle for that. I was a class of 1985. I sat in the same library like you all did. We didn't even have a cover on the Panther patio back in the day when I was here as a freshman in 1981. I grew up in Southwest Fresno. Our family is a loving family, but not perfect by no means, like I'm sure some of you can relate to. I remember coming to high school here and thinking, what do I want to do with my life? I know I don't want to be a bum. I know I don't want to be at my mom's house, whatever, but I honestly don't know what I want to do. I know I want to be successful. A lot of kids would say, oh, I want to be a businessman, but I don't think any of us knew what that entailed. What do you mean by businessman? So the more I dove into what I wanted out of life and what I wanted to do, I knew I didn't want to be a failure per se. No offense to anyone, but in our community, I saw a lot of examples of that. People maybe hanging out, maybe drinking, maybe they have all these different things, flashy cars and clothes, but then you would see their kids and their kids wouldn't have anything. So I knew that I wanted to find something that I would be genuinely interested in, and education wasn't the key. When I was you all here, the last thing I wanted to do was be a teacher or an educator. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to choke one of those kids. I thought all of that. But come full circle, this is the best job. If I had to do 100 times over again, I would choose to be an educator, bar none. This is my 30th year. No, I don't look like it, right? I look 30, is that what y'all going to say? But no. I'm actually 55. My 30th year here. I love Washington Union. Trust me, every place has their goods and bad, and Washington Union's no exception to that rule. But it's really a quality place to get an education with people that would care for you. And do know, if you don't know what you want to do right now, that's okay. It'll all fall into place for me. I graduated in 85. I went to Fresno State. In 1988, I took a visitor's pass where you paid tuition on campus, but then you studied someplace abroad. So then I got to go to North Carolina State. So I would challenge you, if you're here, by all means, try to relocate at some point. Junior college, university, see another portion or another region of the country, because it really opened your eyes up. What it did for me was I really appreciated the community out there, but I knew when my year was over, I definitely want to come back to Fresno. There's something about California, there's something about Fresno where it may not seem like it right now, but if you go out and look and come back, we got everything we need right here. Thank you for your time.
Now knowing of your profession, what are some struggles that you face in your profession as a Black professional? Great.
So I'll speak from this. One thing I didn't say is this is my family member. So I'm from Fresno. I'm from the West Side. My whole family lives on the West Side. So particularly in law enforcement, when it comes to me being Black in that profession, one thing I had was I went to Washington Union. All of my friends that I went to, they went to Washington Union. Where did they live? On the West Side of Fresno. So where do I place myself when I have the opportunity to go anywhere else in the city? I place myself in the neighborhoods that my friends live in, that my family lives in, because to be the change that you want to see, you have to put yourself in the position to be different than what you see. And so the biggest challenge we face is that there was only 40 or so, maybe even 30 Black officers that work in the city of Fresno. And for me, I'm like, that's not a whole lot. So every opportunity I have to find somebody that is Black, that does want to become an officer, and my job and my role is to provide them that guidance, to show them the path that I've already walked. So I'm not done in my career. My job is to find those people who are from the West Side. All of my family members aren't great. It's just kind of a fact of life. But all of them aren't bad. And so my goal is to find the people who are going to arrest the bad members of my family, because it's going to happen, that they do it with compassion and love. So the biggest challenge I do in my career currently is to find people that are going to do that. And that's not to say that we're short of that at the Fresno Police Department. That's not what that's saying at all. It's the challenge is to find somebody that wants to carry on that light, that wants to do that and is going to continue to do that. Because at the end of the day, I realize that I'm only going to be a Fresno police officer for 20 more years. And then I return right back. And it's whoever I hire right now, because I'm in the hiring units, whoever I hire that's going to be holding up that torch of what my expectations are realistically, if I'm being selfish, for my family members who are still living in the community. So the biggest challenge I have personally as a black officer is finding more black officers that can come add that perspective to the department, because your department is only as good as the perspective that it has of the officers that work there. And the decisions that we make are only as good as the perspective that we have. So finding people with perspective to bring in that fresh look, fresh take, that's one of the biggest challenges that we have.
I would say one of the things that it's a kind of open-ended question, but I mean, working in the corporate world, I would say, I mean, when I got out of college, trying to figure out like where my space was, I kind of didn't have a lot of people that look like me in corporate America a little bit, so I ended up starting like something called the Professional Connection back in the day. So back to what he was saying, like sometimes whenever there's things that environment is not just warming up to you, sometimes you have to figure out how to create something. So I ended up creating something called the Professional Connection, and there's a handful of different professionals that were younger that I was able to kind of create networks with and be able to hold mixers at local restaurants and stuff like that. I think it was like every other month at that time. But what that did was that helped build confidence in the networks and in the communities that I was in. One of the things that I would say, back to trying out a different area like you had suggested, I went to Fresno. I went to a private school for 9 years, went to Fresno High for 3 years, and my world shook up big time from going from private to public, which is great for me because when I transitioned from 12th grade on, I had a lot of eclectic friends from all kinds of different worlds and stuff like that. So when I'm talking to clients now that are in way different communities and everything in between, it's helped me to be able to have a diverse group of people that I've come across, because I'm probably one of the only brothers that they probably come like that talk finances like at a higher level to them sometimes. But when I'm talking to them, I talk in love. I talk in different ways to coach and everything in compassion to be able to just try to portray you could do it and everything in between. But there are challenges, but I would say the biggest thing that screams out that I would say that I try to do day in and day out, it's like that whole treat others as you'd want to be treated, because not everybody's going to be like you. So even when you have somebody that has that snap judgment that's like, this guy's young, he looks young, he's talking finances, and he's talking big numbers, and he's supposed to know what he's talking about. But as you start to show up on time, you play the role the right way and everything in between, you start winning respect. So I would say, as you want respect, you give back respect. Say, that whole saying. So it goes a long way, and I think people appreciate looking in your eyes when you're shaking somebody's hand, and just a lot of the old school methods that I think we tend to forget. That hey, this person doesn't respect me. Well, do you respect them? Or this person doesn't even look at me in their eye. Look at me in the eye. Well, are you looking them in the eye? And like if you want somebody to respect you, you really got to just have a lot of self-reflection. And I think that helps out big time. So just basic stuff, a lot of basic stuff. So.
Are going to be coming up on.
Yes,
Okay, I'll be swift then. Naomi and Kylie both are my nieces, so it's good to see you guys here. Challenge that I face in education, I have a doctorate, and I don't want to sound salty in that, but there's tons of challenges in every profession when you're a person of color, and even if you're a person of color that's a male. Now, I'm dressed, maybe I look to like the part of, like I have a doctorate today, but this isn't my normal attire. Trust me, I'll wear sweats. I'll probably look like you all because I'm a product of the environment I came from. What I found that a lot of people upon sight, and again, that's their problem, but they would not associate me having a doctorate whatsoever. If anything, they're more skeptical once I do say it, or if it does come up in conversation. Oh, like where or what did you do, or whatever the case may be. So I try not to be thin-skinned about that, as that's their problem and something that they're dealing with. And by no means do I ever perceive myself trying to dress a certain way or trying to, yes, as this brother said, you do have to be professional and play a part, so to speak, but please don't lose your identity. There's something golden in you being who you are, dressing how you want to dress, being professional when it's time to be professional, but also taking that professional jacket off and having a good old time with your buddies and laughing and yucking it up. You don't always have to be rigid and you know, breathing through your nostrils. You really can have a good time and be who you are. And if someone perceives you as being who you are, great. If they can't see it in you, that's their problem. Be who you are. If I can't say that enough, please, you know,
Authentic.
be genuine.
So what drives you to give back to Fresno specifically?
Fresno's my home. I don't plan on moving. All my family lives here. I'm not going to some other state. That's where I live. So what drives me is I'm going to continue to remain in this community. So why would I give my efforts and time somewhere else? Especially when it's home to so many people that I love. So that's what keeps me going.
We have everything we need right here, truly. You're 3 hours from the Bay, you're 3 hours from Los Angeles, you're 5 hours from Vegas. You can still really afford a house. It may not mean something to you now, but when you get older and you start to purchase a home, you'll see you get this big of a house for $2 million, or you can have a sprawling castle for $400,000 here in Fresno. So it's really a good community. It has its problems like every place else, but echoing what Sergeant Gray said, I'm staying right here too.
Two things. I would say the first thing is to whom much is given, much is required. So there's been a lot of people that have breathed a lot of life into me, neighborhoods and everything in between, past that I could have gone, and even friends up to today. And even when I started, you know, they've kind of helped out. And the second thing is, you know, just within my family, I want to be able to let them see me out in the community and doing positive stuff, because I have a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 1-year-old, and so when it came down to like doing some volunteer stuff, I take them with me. So I just want them to be able to learn it early and be an example of that. So.
Are there any other organizations that you guys belong to?
Proud member as Mr. Randle of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. We're one of 4 black fraternities. I'm not telling you to pick one or the other. I mean, if you want to be the best, then, go blue and white. But if you want to learn some more about your heritage, about your background, about your community and how you can service and give back, please, if you're a young lady, consider one of the 5 sororities. And if you're a young man, please consider one of the 4 black fraternities. Not saying that anyone else is excluded. It's just predominantly that we have brothers that are Caucasian, we have brothers that are Latinos. It's a beautiful organization. Join something though. Don't just go to college, because what will happen is you can all work together. 2 heads is better than one. Maybe they had a class that you're going to take. You can share notes. It's a beautiful thing. Be collaborative in your approach.
I can't follow that up. That's I'll just leave that.
Yeah. No.
Okay. So as someone who once experienced being a black teen, what is something that you would have wanted told to you that you can relate to us?
Ooh, that's a good one. As having a teenager who was black at this point in time, I'll tell you what I tell her. Your self-worth is just that. It's self-worth. It doesn't come from anybody else. It doesn't come from what other people think about you or what other people say, how you should dress. If you don't talk a certain way, people gas me all the time in high school because I talked proper. And all I say is, now look at me now. It's all about how you feel about yourself. Because my parents had high standards for me, I shouldn't feel bad because other people aren't going to have those same high standards for me. My self-worth comes from inside. It doesn't come from your opinion of me. It comes from the standards that I have for myself. And so I sleep good at night knowing that the decisions that I make, that the things that I say, that my actions are all pure and good, and that it's for the good of me and my family and as well as my community. I sleep good. So make sure that you have good self-worth. And if you don't have self-worth, that's going to make life harder. So.
And I would echo, there's two things. I would echo that same thing and then echo what he said before about being authentic, because I think that is the common thread, is that when you know yourself, you don't have to compromise and everything else. So it's a huge thing. So, I mean, do you, as they would say. So I think that's the biggest thing that I would say. So.
Yeah, my grandmother would say, I'm sorry, and my grandmother raised us to have self-worth, as these gentlemen are saying, but also know that you're not special. You know better than no one else, but definitely no one is no better than you. I know as a community, we struggle with our hair, our appearance. We can be really tough on one another. I don't know any other communities that just rank on you from the time you walk out to the door that you have to be everything crispy, or they're going to find something to say. That may exist elsewhere, but I know it exists in our community. But do know, again, hey, they can look however, you can look however. At the end of the day, they know it better than you, nor you know better than them. Everyone's equal. I don't care if they're the president of the United States or there's somebody that has a cardboard asking you for a handout. God's eyes, if you want to go deep with it, are just all that matters. No one's better than you, but in the same breath, I don't care what sports you play or how much money you make, you're not better than anyone else here.
I want to thank our panel. They gave us some definite wisdom. I really like the fact that, showing up to meetings on time, sign of respect, all right? Showing up to class on time, showing that respect for your teachers as well. I don't think anybody here got caught in the tardy sweep earlier, so it's a good thing. Go ahead and get our photo, and we got another group of students coming in here in 5 minutes, so let's get our photos.
Hey, much love, Panthers.
Yes.
Appreciate you guys.